Truly your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life. Truly your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life. And now I'm in the house of the Lord forever and ever.
Hello, how's it going? For those of you that do not know me, my name is Travis. I am the family pastor here at North Coast Church, and some of you guys go, what the heck is the family pastor? It is a new position over the last year or two that really I oversee like babies all the way to the Jordan, those departments, but really the whole point of having a family ministry is we're starting to align and have same purpose statement. We're really being focused on how do we get our students, our kids coming through our ministry with the same aligned purposes, same aligned staff, the way we do things. It's been pretty awesome. We've already seen some really cool things happen because of that. And some of you might know me as the junior high pastor. I was your junior high pastor over the years, but I'm excited to get to come hang out with you. As you guys see, we are continuing I think this is the third week of The Well, this new series, this idea of being refreshed, and how I think Anthony opened up 2 weeks ago on how the only one that can fully satisfy and completely restore us and everything is Jesus Christ. He's the only one that can do that. He talked about the woman at the well, and he's the only one who can fully do that in our lives. I remember that my friend and I have a friend, and if you came through junior high, you probably know my friend Reason. Reason has been my friend since third grade, so it's crazy. I'm now 47. We've been friends for a really, really long time, and now he's in junior high. When I was in junior high as a leader, it's pretty cool, but we in college had the assignment. We had to go to the desert and take pictures of plants. Okay, so we are going there on this adventure. Back then, they did not have phones that you could map quest. So we were going off of, somebody said, you're going to come down this hill and there's going to be this huge rock. Take a left there. I remember. So we got to the spot and we go on this hike. And I remember going on this hike, we're taking pictures, and Reason's like, Trav, we should go off trail and go up that cliff over there. I'm like, all right, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, we're good. And so I remember we go on this adventure. And now it's getting dark, and I'm like, Reason, we need to head back. It's like, no, but we're almost to the top. And I remember we finally got to the top, and it was dark, and then we were stuck trying to figure out how to get back in the dark. No moon had come up. It wasn't coming up for another few hours. And I remember it was supposed to be a 2-hour trail turned into like a 6-hour journey and getting back. And I remember I am dead. We were like, not physically, but I mean, I felt that way. We were exhausted. I remember getting some water, and that water was like so refreshing. And here's the point is that water only refreshed me then. I typically always still need something to restore me. But if we go back to the well, if we really have a relation with Jesus Christ and he really is filling us, we will never be thirsty again. And that's the point of this series as we're coming point. And we're talking about these spiritual disciplines that are designed to help us experience God in a real way and actually strengthen our walk with him. And today we come to one that we're going to talk about is called fasting. Fasting. We're going to talk about fasting today, and I want to be honest with you something today. Okay, I've been a pastor almost 28 years, and I will be honest that this is not a strength of mine. In fact, when Anthony said, will you talk on fasting? I'm like, can I have another one? Because fasting is not typically a huge part of my life and my walk with God, but yet it's so powerful. So today, as I teach you on fasting, I'm kind of teaching to myself. There's been things as I was studying, I'm like, oh my goodness, God, you reminded me I need to fast more. And when I think about fasting, I think of when it says in Matthew 4, 1-2, it says, and Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to pray and fast for 40 days. I think of this idea of fasting is this idea of going and getting away for 40 days. And I'm not today, that is not my goal, is to tell you, you're going to have to go without food for 40 days. No. But that's what comes to mind. What else I think about it is I think about this idea of where have I fasted before? Where have I starved before? And I think of, starving to serve. growing up as the junior high pastor, and some of you going through our junior high ministry, you've had to starve for 40 hours through our Starving to Serve program. And you're like, Trev, I fasted before, and I want to be honest with you. I don't think that's the same. Because what we're going to find out today, when we are fasting, our fasting is not for a purpose to raise money, okay? Our fasting has another reason that's very important, and I don't think when you were doing that during the Starving Serve, you were getting the benefit of what fasting really is, and we're going to talk more about that. And also, our focus was on money, and I don't think that should be our focus when we're fasting. We're going to talk more, but I don't think the discipline is, hey, I will do these things if you pay me, okay? That's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about this idea of fasting today, and I want to read a verse right here. It says in Matthew 6:16-18. In fact, I will be honest with you, I'm going to skip around and do a ton of verses. So this would be the one to open up to because this is the main one we're going to go in off of. Matthew 6:16-18. It is found in the New Testament. It's the first book. Matthew's the first book of the New Testament. And you're going to go to chapter 6, verse 16-18. And just so you know, Matthew, this section Jesus is actually doing his Sermon on the Mount. These are some of the most important sermons that he does. He is teaching us how to live the Christian life. All starting, I think, in chapter 5 through 7. It's just 2 or 3 chapters that he is telling us in the Sermon on the Mount. And he comes to a section in chapter 6:16, and here's what it says. It says, when you fast. If you're a person that writes in your Bible, I would circle right now. When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show men they are fasting. I tell you the truth, they have received their reward in full. He's saying when you're fasting, don't act like it, because now everyone knows you're fasting and then they got their reward. We'll talk more about that later. But it says, when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it may not be obvious to men that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. When I read that, I had you circle when you fast, because here's the thing is the Bible implies, Jesus says when you fast, he implies that we're going to fast. Remember I told you, I struggled with what? He's implying when you fast, not like, hey, if you ever decide to fast. Hey, if there's one moment in your life you decide to fast, here's what to do. He implies we are supposed to be fasting. And you are going to look through, as we go through today, talk about different characters in our Bible, you will see how powerful fasting has been in different people's lives and where God has shown up because of fasting as you dig in the Word. And so first I want to talk about what is fasting. What is fasting? Well, if you look at Dallas Willard, this theologian, pretty smart guy, okay? He says, in fasting, we abstain in some significant way from food and possibly from drink as well. It is abstaining in a significant way from food and possibly water or drink as well. And I would actually argue not only could fasting be a food or something to drink, but it also could be probably, I would say, argue social media could be something to fast from. Entertainment, TV. Because here's what I would say is, a lot of times food was something where that was their main focus. And so you're taking your focus off God. But let's just be honest. Some of us, that's something that we struggle with. And just like, the benefit of fasting, it's crazy. God calls us to fast. Jesus says, when you fast. Even science is caught up in saying fasting could actually be even there could be some things that are physically beneficial to you. It's actually good to go without food for a little while. It's actually good for your body. Well, I could make the same argument that stepping away from social media, from entertainment, TV, different things like that, could have a huge benefit in your life. So even though we're asking you to maybe do something God calls in, sometimes there's also a benefit that comes from it. But here's what I want to do today. My goal is to tell you why you should fast. And my hope is it's something where you're on your own going to go, maybe I should start doing this spiritual discipline. It's not something where the church is going to go, that's it. 1112 is going to go, hey, we just talked about fasting because guess what we're going to do for the next 5 days or the next 7 days or the next 10? No. But I want to encourage you. I'm hoping after hearing this, you might go, dang it, maybe this is a spiritual discipline I should make a part of my life. And I'll be honest with you, like I said, it's not a strength of my life, but after just preparing for this and studying, I've even went, dang God, I need to make this a part of my life. So, why we should fast? 4 reasons. I'm going to give you 4 reasons today. The first one is this. Fasting makes you dependent on God. If you have your note sheets, I don't have note sheets for it, but if you take notes, fasting makes you dependent on God. I'm sorry, it will not be up there. I did not prepare quick enough that I could have it up on the screen for you, so you're just going to have to listen. But fasting makes you dependent on God. One of my favorite verses in the Bible, I have like 3 or 4, and this would be one of them. It is found in 2 Corinthians 12:9. 2 Corinthians 12:9. I love it. Paul is talking. Paul wrote most of the New Testament, and he comes to a place where he is crying out to God. You see, God, he said that God had caused a spirit of the flesh. We have no clue what this means, but was torn him. He called this a thorn of his flesh in his side. We have no clue what it means. People have tried to guess what it was, but the point was it was too much to bear in sometimes. And so Paul was praying out to God, would you take this away? Please, God, take this away. And if anyone God should have answered and taken care of it would be Paul, because he wrote most of the New Testament. He had been in situations that none of us will ever experience. God had come through. God had used Paul to do miracles. Unbelievable stuff. And here's how God responds to him saying, please, please, please take this away. He says in 2 Corinthians 12:9, he says, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses so that Christ's power may rest on me. God said, no, I'm not going to take that away because my grace is enough for you. And here's the thing is my power is made perfect when you are weak. Here's the thing is I've learned in life when I am weak, when I am struggling, when I am hurt, when I'm in pain, when I'm vulnerable, I tend to run to God in those moments. But here's what's weird. When things are going great, when I don't need God, when life's doing great, like when I win the basketball championship or when that girl says, yes, I want to date, and I'm like, oh, Cloud, I don't need God. I don't need God in those things, or at least sometimes we forget to do that. And I think another spiritual difference we're talking about is thankfulness. But here's the thing is we tend to not run to God in the good times. It tends to be when we're going through hard times, when we are weak. And here's what's awesome about fasting is when we are fasting, we are put in our place where we are starting to be weak. Fasting, the physical of eating, if not eating, your body is starting to like yearn for food. It's starting to like, it's hurting. That weakness, now it causes you to rely on God. When we're in weak moments, it causes us to rely on God. And I'll be honest with you, even myself, I say it could be food, but it could be other stuff, because what's the first thing I run to in the morning? When I wake up, I run to my phone. And I go on you know what the first website I go on, okay, is ESPN. I check my sports. I know some guys are like, that's what you do. And I'm like, I know I'm stupid. Like there's so many better things to look at. That is my crutch, is sports. There's other stuff. Or, this is sad, when I'm bored, I will play different solitaire games. Okay. I know you're like, that's what you play. I'm like, I know. I should be doing that one where you have those gyms that you line them up 4 in a row or 3 in a row. I don't know, Royal, whatever. My wife loves that one. But my thing is solitaire. I don't know why. But I'm like addicted to these things. That's the first thing I run to. Believe me, those are not things. When I'm tired, I wake up in the morning and I should get out my Bible and run to God. No. I run to those things. Those are like my crutch. Is that weird? And I'd be able to bet it's you too, just not ESPN, okay? It's probably something else. Because those are the things we run to. And I would say maybe the thing you run to first, maybe that's the thing you should fast from. Because we should be running to God first. What is going to put those things where it causes us to be dependent on God? The second reason why you should fast is this. Fasting empties you to be filled with God. Fasting empties you to be filled with God. Here's the thing. When we fast, we are taking away something that consumed most of your time. But now that time can be used to spend it with God. So here's the thing is, our time, we have a certain amount of time, and whatever we spend all our time, and whether you're on the phone a lot, whatever that is, when we stop doing, when we fast from that, it allows us to now be filled with God during those times, because the hope would be that during those times, we're not focused on that. We become focused on God, and now he can fill us up during those times. He can be the one that we start to do that. It says this. This is in Philippians 3:19. Their end is destruction. Their God is their belly, and their glory is their shame, with mind set on earthly things. Their God is their appetite. Let me tell you something. The things that we are filling our body with, whether it's food, whether it's the different things that we are struggling with, the things that we addicted to, some of our relationships, I'll be honest with you, they can start to become our little g gods. And I'd argue, what is the little g gods that are in your life? What is the things that are right now maybe first in your life? Because what happens is those are what fills us up right now, not God. And if we practice the spiritual discipline of fasting, what tends to happen is if we can refrain from those, if we can stop doing those for a little while, that time now gets filled up with God. And what happens is that's when we start to rely on him more. That's when we start getting filled up. But the problem is that's what we end up spending our time, and we put that focus on the wrong things. I'll be honest with you, even things that are like, sometimes those things that we are putting our focus on, they're not even bad things. Sometimes they're good things. But still they become number one in your life. But guess what? Sometimes they become sin things. There's some of you that there's sin in your life. It's certain relationships with certain people. There's certain things we do, certain things that you are addicted to that they aren't good things. And guess what? Those have now become our God. Those have become our appetite. And you wonder why when you finally pray out to God, God, why don't you help me here? Why can't you help me? Why am I not seeing you? Why am I not experiencing all those things? And you wonder why? And maybe God's because guess what? You're not even obeying me. I wonder if you ever took to look at your life and go, dang, is there some secret sins, or are there sins that have become a focus? They're actually a big part of my life. And then you wonder why maybe God doesn't answer you. Because that has become your appetite. That has become your God. But guess what? When we restrain from them, when we fast, we leave space so that God can fill us up. Third reason of this is fasting allows you to hear and see God move. Fasting allows you to hear and see God move. I wonder if I asked you, how many of you have actually tangibly heard God or seen God move? And I wonder if there'd be a lot of hands that would be raised. I know this in my life. I'm trying to think. I'll be honest with you. I've been a Christian for a really long time. I've been a pastor for almost 28 years, and I've never, ever heard the audible voice of God. I have talked to some people, and I know a pastor friend of mine said he's been a pastor for almost 50 years. He's like, I know 2 distinct times where I heard God audibly. I have never experienced that. Have you ever heard him talk to you? But I will tell you this, I have seen God move in my life. I've seen God move in other people's lives. I've seen his hands on things. And my argument would be is, have you heard or experienced God? Have you seen God move? Because if you haven't, maybe that's something that God's calling you to fast. Now, here's what I want to tell you real quick. Hold on. You need to hear this. When I talk about fasting, I do think that when we fast, it allows us to be heard, to hear God and see God. But I also want you to know something. doesn't mean that's the only way to hear him. And if you fast, you don't hear from him. It's not a recipe. Here's what happens with some of these spiritual disciplines. We start to think, here's why I'm not doing this, so I'm going to do this. And what happens is the spiritual discipline becomes more important than our relationship with God. And you need to know something. It's not a secret. Oh, you know why you haven't heard God? Do you know why he's not moving your life? You're just not fasting. So then you fast, you're like, I still don't hear him. And now we think it's a secret formula. I did it, now I get this. No, I'll be honest with you. The secret is having a relationship with Jesus Christ. The secret is where you start to make him Lord of your life. But fasting is a time where, guess what? When we fast, it actually allows you to hear and see God more. And how do we know? We see this in the Bible. There's some incredible stories. There's a story about Daniel. I don't know if you guys have ever read the book of Daniel. I will tell you, it is up there on one of my favorite books to read. If you're like, Trav, what books do you read? Okay, if I'm going to read New Testament, tell you right now, here's my 3 books I love to read in the New Testament. I love to read John. It's one of my favorite gospels because I feel like it's the emotional gospel. I feel like all the stories are the one where God tugs on my heart. I love to read James because James is the book that is the best for knowing like how to live for God pretty practically. Like it's a very simple book. Anyone reading, you're like, that's what I'm supposed to do. And then I love 1 John. It goes back to how our most important thing is we should be loving God and loving others. It's all about the book of love. 1 John is all about love. But when you go to the Old Testament, Daniel, Joshua, Judges, the Kings, oh my goodness, that's where God works with his people. You see how he works with us. And you come to this book, Daniel, and Daniel is this incredible story of this kid who was taken out of Jerusalem. And I wouldn't say slavery, but kind of what happened is Babylon came and took over Jerusalem and took all the young stud guys that are like good looking, they were smart, and they were ones they would say without defect. I have no clue what that means because there's no one that's perfect. But they took them to Babylon to teach them their ways, and they were going to make them kind of their servants, but also give them a chance to like thrive. And Daniel is one of these boys at 16, or he's a young man. We don't know if he's 16, 17, 18. But God takes them there, and then you start to see the way God works. And because Daniel is faithful, God moves in incredible ways. But every time in there, you have these stories where something's happening, and then Daniel says, hey, let me go pray and fast. And he'll go and pray and fast, and a lot of times that's when God all of a sudden reveals himself. That's when God all of a sudden gives him the answer, and that's where some of the most incredible miracles happen. We see it with Esther. Esther is a book in the Old Testament. It's a girl who won a beauty contest. Okay, you're like, what? The Bible taught? Yes, she won a beauty contest. She was the most beautiful girl in all the kingdom, okay, of the Assyrian Empire. And she became queen because of that. And she was a Jew. She had hidden who she was from everyone else so that she could protect herself. And then there was a time where they were going to annihilate all the Jews. And it was her opportunity for such a time as this. What if God put you in that opportunity? And so she has this opportunity right there that maybe she could save all the Jews. And what does she tell the Jews? She says, okay, I want you to pray and fast. And they've prayed and fasted. And then God revealed the answer to her, that the secret plan that she was now able to be successful and save all of the Jewish nation. It's unbelievable. It says this in Mark 9:29. I love this. It says, Jesus says, this kind can only be cast out by prayer and fasting. There is a story where Jesus let the disciples out, and they went out, and this is crazy. Imagine if you were hanging out with Jesus, and then Jesus says, guess what? I'm going to give you all the same powers I have. You can heal people. You can do miracles. You can cast out demons. You can heal shriveled hands. I'm going to give you all the power. And so they're what? And they start going out, and they're preaching the gospel, and all of a sudden, they are having the ability to do miracles. Awesome. And then they come back and they try to heal this boy who's demon-possessed. He's so demon-possessed, he'll just throw himself in the fire, and Dad has to save him out of the fire. He'll try to drown himself. That's how bad this is. And they are trying to heal him, and they can't. And they're like, Jesus, we healed all these other people in your name. Why can't we heal him? And he says this kind can only be cast out by prayer and fasting. You see, there are some battles that cannot be handled in your self-dependence. His whole thing is that sometimes you need to fast. So even Jesus said, hey, sometimes you need to fast. And you're like, what? Fasting was a big deal. If you keep going in Acts, a lot of their breakthroughs in the stories in Acts was because of prayer and fasting. Fasting humbles us. Because what happens is we start to rely on God. We're going through hard times and we can't do it on our own, and it humbles us. It humbles us in a way, and then that's when we start to hear and see God. And the fourth thing is this: fasting has consistent results. Fasting has consistent results. I love it. It says in Jeremiah 29:13-14, it says this: you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord. Isn't that crazy? He says, if you seek me, you will find me. If you pursue me, well, guess what? If we are fasting and seeking him, and we're fasting and we're relying on him, it says he will find you. It is the one thing fasting does. It has consistent results. You will constantly find him. If you look for me, you will find me. It's a constant thing. He said, guess what? This is a formula. If you fast, yes, you will find me. Same results. You see, as we are going through spiritual disciplines, fasting is the one that we should all be fasting. And some of you guys are like, okay, Trav, I'm supposed to fast. What does that look like? I want to real quick, because listen, I don't know, fasting looks different for all of us, I would say. I don't know how long. I don't know what you should fast from. But I will tell you this, here's some things you do. One is ask the Lord. What do you need to fast from? I would ask the Lord, God, what should I be fasting from? What is something that has become my God? Is it food? Would food be more powerful for me right now to restrain from food? And how long, Trav, do I go? I don't know. I think that's something you can ask God. It says this, check your heart. Second thing is this, check your heart. Because here's the thing, what are your motives? I love it. Remember back in 6:16, it says, for the hypocrites, they disfigure a face to show men they are fasting. I tell you the truth, they have received their reward in full. Check your heart. Why are you fasting? If you're fasting so that you can brag to people you fast, that's not a good thing. That's not something that's important. You know, I had one of your leaders go, hey, what if I want to have someone hold me accountable? It's a great question. Am I allowed to tell them? And I would say, well, what's your motives? Because if your motives are pure, then I don't think you lose your reward if somebody's holding you accountable. But otherwise, it makes it seem like you should fast in secret. People shouldn't know you're fasting. They shouldn't know what you're fasting from. That's between you and God. But yes, if you need someone to hold you accountable, I don't think that's a bad thing if your motives are pure. If your motives are to brag to them, look what I'm doing, you can't do that. God says you got your reward. Your reward is you impress someone that you're doing it. That's not the point of it. What is the point? Remember, the point is that you rely on God, that you're going to be filled with him, that you're going to all of a sudden experience him in a different way, that it's going to be consistent. Those are the things, not that you got praise from people. And last thing is this, in your times of fasting, pray for wisdom, relationship, and breakthrough. In times of fasting, pray for wisdom, relations, and breakthrough. Listen, when you fast, and you're like, but what do I do now? You should be praying for wisdom, for relationship with him, relationship with the body, and for breakthrough. Because guess what? I will tell you this. This is biblical. When God's going to work and do something amazing in your life, you know what's weird is it tended to always start with him taking you through the desert. Isn't it crazy? Jesus, before he started his ministry, he went to the desert for 40 days, and then God prepared him for 3 years of ministry that he was going to do before he died on the cross. I believe that happens with us. You might start fasting and praying, and God might be doing some breakthrough in your life, so now he's ready to do something amazing in your life. I don't know. But maybe that's what's happening. So be praying for breakthrough. God, is there something you need to change? Is there some desires in my heart you need to break? Is there things going on? Pray for breakthrough. But this is a great guide to start with. Listen, I am not telling you that you have to leave today and start fasting. But I want to encourage you, this should be something that becomes a part of our life. Where this spiritual discipline of fasting is very important. So I want to encourage that. Right now, the worship team is going to come up. I know they're probably a little earlier than normal. Sorry. But they're going to come on up. I'm going to go and close in prayer. And then we're going to do some worship. Dear God, thank you so much again for this opportunity to come and just talk with these 11, 12th graders, Lord. Thank you for what you're already doing in their lives, Lord. I've already seen some amazing things moving in the 11-12 ministry, Lord. Lord, I just pray as we take on this spiritual discipline of fasting, Lord, that they would seek you, and God, what is the things I need to fast from? Is it relationships? Is it my phone? Is it social media? Is it food? Whatever it is. And Lord, would you just in the midst of that, I just pray that there would be breakthrough. Lord, that they would see you. Lord, I pray that maybe some students here would audibly hear your voice. Lord, I still have never audibly heard your voice. I've heard your voice for different things that have come through different times. I've seen you speak into my life in ways, Lord, but man, wouldn't that be amazing? Lord, would you just continue to humble us? And would you continue to teach us